Welcome, everyone. I'm really glad you're here. We are about to jump into a completely new way of thinking about speaking under pressure. If you're one of those smart, capable people who's ever felt like your voice just disappears when it matters most, then this is absolutely for you. Let's get right into it.
So this really gets to the heart of the whole problem, doesn't it? You do the work, you know your stuff, you are more than prepared, but then the pressure comes on and suddenly it's like a switch flips. There's a disconnect. It is so frustrating, and it's really easy to feel like it's some kind of personal flaw. But I'm here to tell you, it's not.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to put a name to the problem, the performance paradox. Then, we'll talk about why all the usual advice you hear just doesn't work. After that, we'll dig into the real biology of what's happening. I'll show you a simple mechanical fix, and finally, we'll walk through a 10-day plan to make that fix second nature.
Okay, so let's start by defining this really frustrating pattern that so many of us experience. We call it the performance paradox. It's this weird situation where the more you care, the worse you do.
So this is how that paradox plays out, and it's a super predictable cycle. You start with preparation. You're good. You're ready. Then boom, the pressure hits. It could be a huge presentation, a tense conversation, whatever. And that's when the disconnect happens. All that clear thinking you had, it's just gone. And your voice, it physically changes. This isn't just a fluke, it's a pattern.
So, why doesn't all the standard advice actually help? Well, because most of it is trying to solve the wrong problem. It's treating a mechanical, physical issue as if it's just a mindset issue.
And when you look at it like this, the contrast is just stark. We're told, just be confident, but our body is actually launching an involuntary threat response. We're told to use these little performance tricks, but our working memory, the very part of our brain we need, is actively getting smaller. And the classic, practice more? Well, under real pressure, our entire vocal system is physically tightening up. You see, you can't outthink a biological mechanism. It just doesn't work.
Which of course brings us to the most important question. If this isn't about confidence or mindset, then what in the world is actually going on inside of us?
So the real bad guy here, the antagonist of our story, isn't you. It isn't your confidence. It's a deeply wired, ancient system in your body. We call it the autonomic threat response. And just knowing this changes everything, right? It reframes the whole issue from being a personal flaw to just a predictable biological process.
So let's get on the same page with some terms. The autonomic nervous system, or the ANS. Think of it as your body's automatic pilot. It runs in the background, and it has two main nodes. Sympathetic, that's your fight or flight gear, and parasympathetic, which is your calm, rest, and digest state.
And this timeline just lays out the whole chain reaction perfectly. A high-stakes moment happens, your ANS sees that as a threat, and bam, it triggers the sympathetic response. Your system gets hijacked. Your throat muscles, your laryngeal muscles, they tense up, and your access to complex thought just drops. And what's the result? Your voice changes, your thinking gets all scattered, and your performance goes down.
And hey, this isn't just some idea we came up with, it's all backed by research. This quote basically says that when your autonomic system gets fired up, that's the threat response, it has a direct, negative, and measurable effect on the physical parts of you that control speech. So the big takeaway here is, what you're feeling is real. It's a physiological event.
Okay, so that's the problem. Let's talk about the solution. If the problem is a biological trigger, then it makes sense that the solution has to be a physical, mechanical intervention that can get in there and stop that process.
This is the key. This is the whole idea right here. You can't just talk your nervous system out of a threat response. It won't listen to reason. But you can use a physical action to manually shift it from that sympathetic threat state back over to the parasympathetic calm state.
And here is that physical action. It's our anchor skill. We call it the 60-second reset. It's a simple, repeatable little procedure. First, you just ground your feet. Feel the floor. That gives you physical stability. Then you do a very specific breathing pattern. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, and then a long, slow exhale for 6 seconds. Finally, you just speak one clear sentence out loud to get your voice back online.
So, why does this specific thing work? Well, the science shows that slow breathing, especially with that longer exhale, directly stimulates something called the vagus nerve. And that nerve? It's basically the master switch for your parasympathetic system. So when you activate it, you're literally flipping a switch that tells your body, hey, we're safe now. It lowers stress hormones and calms the entire system down. It is a direct biological intervention.
Now, having a tool like this is great, But making it your automatic go-to response when you're under pressure, well, that takes practice. And that is exactly what the 10-day protocol is for, to build this new default response through consistent, systematic training.
And the whole protocol follows this really logical path, right? We build one skill right on top of the other. We start with the absolute foundation, regulation, mastering the mechanics of controlling your physical state. Once you can do that, we build on it to maintain presence. From there, we work on getting access to clear thinking, then structuring those thoughts, and finally being able to speak with real purpose and authority.
And look, we design this for people with actual jobs and busy schedules. It's a small, focused commitment each day. You watch a quick lesson, you do a quick drill. And the main rule is simple: one take. No polishing it, no do-overs. The goal isn't to be perfect. The goal is to build resilience through reps. It's about creating a new instinct, not just learning a theory.
So, I'll just leave you with this one final question to think about. What if those moments where you feel like you disappear under pressure, what if they have nothing to do with your competence or your confidence? What if it's just a perfectly good system that's just been waiting for you to give it the right mechanical input so it can do its job?